been.
Where did you dig up that old fossil?
Going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
That's no move.
We're all fine here now, thank you. How are you?
Welcome to the Star Wars Nerds Podcast. I'm Dan Vedabonker.
And I'm Kenton Larson.
I've got something to play for you, Kenton, off the bat. I want you to listen to this.
Everything that has transpired has done so according to my design. Your friends up there on the Sanctuary Moon are walking into a trap, as is your rebel fleet. It was I who allowed the Alliance to know the location of the shield generator. It is quite safe from your pitiful little band. An entire legion of my best troops await them. Oh, I'm afraid the deflector shield will be quite operational when your friends arrive.
Was that a cameo?
No, it's actually a guy doing a Gilbert Gottfried impression. It's not Gilbert. It sounds like Gilbert Gottfried.
Oh, it's pretty good.
It is very good. And I thought that, first of all, I know you love Gilbert Gottfried, and I know you love that performance in Return of the Jedi by the Emperor. So I thought that would be a good way to kick off the podcast today. But lots of news, lots of Star Wars news in the last few weeks since we did our last episode. We've got casting news. The Obi-Wan series, they announced the cast of that last week. So we're going to talk about that. I watched The Caravan of Courage. Star Wars Vintage is on Disney Plus. They called it Star Wars Vintage. I love it. Isn't like the original Star Wars? Isn't it all vintage? Like really, if you think about it, the original trilogy is vintage. Like like anything made before 1997 is vintage. Like how do they determine what is vintage?
I thought they were going to call it something like "Please don't watch this."
Why?
For fans only.
Well, it is
because I don't think they wanted us. I don't think that's their favorite stuff to market. Just for the same reason they didn't put the whole holiday special there. I think they gave in to fan demand and they put it on there. But I think when all's said and done, they really want us to be looking at the other stuff, don't you?
Yeah, well, I think it's a matter of partly it's a matter of like, hey, we've just got this content sitting here. We might as well make some money off of it and get it out there for people, because it's just sitting in a vault presumably or somewhere. I did watch Caravan of Courage, and I do want to talk about it. And I'll start by saying it's not as bad as you made it out to seem like it was. I'll say
it's
that.
Terrible.
It's not that bad. It's not that bad. And I'll tell you why, because it helps. I think you helped me actually. You helped me come into it with the right frame of mind, because you said it's for kids. And if you go into it with that thinking in mind that it is for kids, then you will enjoy it more than any other Star Wars thing that you go into, right? Because there are some aspects of it that are pretty bad. I mean, the costumes for one, oh man, that's probably my biggest complaint about the whole thing, was that the costumes, those Ewoks do not look like Ewoks. They look like guys in suits, unfortunately. And in the movie, in Return of the Jedi, they made them look real. The Ewoks look real, but that does not translate to the TV budget of the Caravan of Courage. And by the way, I also want to mention that it wasn't called Caravan of Courage when it came out, was it? Like, I don't remember that. No, I don't think that's what it was. It was called like an Ewok Adventure or something. I don't remember it being called Caravan of Courage when I first saw it on TV. But I think they renamed it after the second one came out. The second one was the Battle for Endor. And I think that was, they want to kind of differentiate it between the two. So they called it like an Ewok Adventure, Caravan of Courage, and then an Ewok Adventure, Battle for Endor. So that's what they ended up doing. But overall, I thought, it's funny how well I remembered it. I really remember distinctly watching this on TV. I remember the parts at the beginning where you see the parent. The weird part, here's the premise of this, and this is spoilers for a movie it's
depressing.
Almost 40 years old.
Surprisingly depressing.
Well, listen, so they crash. Like this, it's about, and I can't determine, and I was trying to determine where this takes place in the timeline, right? Does it take place after Return of the Jedi or before Return of the Jedi? So, and I don't think there's any indication in the film. I could not figure it out if it was before or after. I mean, Wicket seems to be pretty good with English or whatever they call the language in Star Wars.
That's right.
Basic. But Wicket is pretty good with it, but he could just be really good with that kind of stuff. So it's hard to tell if he's already had the experience of meeting Princess Leia and all the other people, or if it's after that. Because there's no mention of the Empire or anything like that. This is simply a family crash lands on Endor. the parents are stupid. Oh man, these parents are dumb of these kids. Like they just take off. They crash land. You see them get out of the ship. And they're like, oh my God, what happened to the kids? I don't know. Let's go look for them. And they run off. Meanwhile, the kids are like inside the ship somewhere. They I guess were knocked unconscious, you know. So the kids come out of the ship and they're like, where are mom and dad? So that's the premise. That's the opening part. That's a bit lame. But once we get into it, it's fun. It's lots of Ewok fun. They had this great scene where the Ewok is like flying on the hang glider at the beginning. He's looking for his kids. The language of the Ewoks is really cool too. It's called Ewokese. Who knew? I didn't know that's what it was called. And I learned that from using the subtitles. The subtitles came on. It also helps me keep track of all the names, because all the Ewok names were, although there were lots of common, like Wicket, Logray is in this one as well, who's the kind of the medicine man person in the Ewok tribe. And I think that, it's a lot of Ewok. If you like the Ewoks in the third movie in Return of the Jedi, then you'll like this. Now, that being said, there's a lot of people who didn't like the Ewoks in that movie, right?
But you're right when you say there's a big difference in quality of Ewoks from Return of the Jedi to the thing.
Generally, the special effects are pretty bad in this. Like they have a really bad claymation. I thought it was supposed to be like the giant rats from The Princess Bride. It's kind of like that. The ROTUSs, or what do they call rats of unusually large size? Whatever they call them. It looks like that, but it's really bad claymation. Like the face is cartoony and it's not really well done at all. And then the other one was the spider, which was like they get into this part. So the story, so they have to go find their parents. Their parents have been captured by a giant monster, who's just a giant. It's a big, like literally a giant, like Jack of the Beanstalk. And they've been captured. They're being kept in a cage, and they have to go rescue them. So the two kids, the boy and the girl, they travel with the Ewoks to the fortress and to the mountain. Really, it's a mountain, to rescue the parents, and that's the Caravan of Courage, right? They have to do the caravan, and they have to find people along the way. And it's very reminiscent of other kind of adventure quest movies like Conan, or even like Willow is a good example. Speaking of Warwick Davis, who plays Wicket in this, and he also plays Willow. It does have a really good kind of quest movie vibe to it, and I really did enjoy that part of it. The kid who plays the older brother, boy, is he trying hard. He is trying like heck to put in a good performance, and at times he does. It's weird. It's like he can cry. That kid can cry on command. He's really good at it, but his other acting isn't great. It's funny. It's very inconsistent. So it's very funny. But he's trying like hell to put in a good performance. And the other kid was pretty much the same, like, oh no, where's mommy and dad? Like the little sister is a little whiny and kind of like, but she makes friends with Wicket and that kind of stuff. Anyway, I would say that it's a fun movie to watch. I enjoyed it more than I thought it was going to. And I think that I do think we should do a watch along for the Battle of Endor. I think that would be a lot of fun.
So wait a sec. What are the next two? What order do they come in?
There's Battle for Endor is the only other TV movie. That's the one with
3.
No, there's only 2. That's the one with the Quaker Oats guy with what's his face?
Wilford Brimley.
Yeah, he's in the second one, not in the first one. So that was my mistake. I thought he was in the first one.
You know what? It's enough of a blur for me. This is what I thought. I thought I'd seen the first 2, and that there's a third one where I was just like, enough's enough, and I didn't watch it. But I guess not. I guess I saw the 2 that were out. Because I remember seeing the Wilford Brimley one, and that's when I always say like that's the one with Geppetto, because it's basically Geppetto.
Yeah.
And but I think I remember they did a movie poster that made the second one look like Return of the Jedi, and so I watched it, but it was once again like I was like, oh, bait and switch one more time. like I thought, okay, they figured it out, but it really, I mean. Maybe I should watch it again and go, okay, it's for kids. Fair enough. But I did try to watch some of it on YouTube a year ago, and I was like, oh no, I can't do it. But I will say the quality is probably better on Disney Plus.
Oh, sure it is. Yeah. It's been like remastered or whatever. But again, it is also the 4:3 ratio, right? Yeah. It was on TV. It's so funny how that is. Like back when I worked at Blockbuster Video, I used to have to convince people to rent the widescreen version of a movie, and they would always hate it because there's black bars at the top and the bottom of the screen. Well, now we have black bars on the sides of our screens because of all the stuff we watched in the 80s being on TV, right? So that's the problem now. And the TV's changed to widescreen, so now everybody can watch widescreen.
Well, I will. It is in keeping though with the the Snyder cut of Justice League, which is also in the same bloody ratio because he imagined it on IMAX, I think. Wasn't that?
Is that what it was? I don't know why, but yeah, that's something we didn't mention when we talked about that on Media Nerds. We did not mention that aspect of it, and that was another thing that drove me nuts. It's not so much the 4:3, and they did do this, but for me, the big issue with when they converted widescreen movies to the pan and scan was the issue, right? When they did that, they had this weird kind of, they'd have to like pan over to one side of the screen so you could see what was happening there, and it was this artificial looking pan that did not look like a natural camera movement, so it was really took you out of it. Anyway, so basically, I would say, yeah, the Caravan of Courage. If you liked the Ewoks aspect of Return of the Jedi, this is all that. It's all kinds of more Ewok action, but there's some very key Star Wars things that are not in this, like any kind of space fighting or space battles. Nope, none of that. Well, there's no stormtroopers or Empire at all. There's some monsters and stuff they've overcome. I would say there is the Force. I'm pretty sure that Logray is using the Force in this thing. I'm just gonna say that because I don't want to have to explain any other kind of magic that's in this universe. The Force is enough to cover basically all the things he does with it in this. Like there's like he casts spells. He can take over the brain. He basically takes control of a spider monster so that it goes like, it's all stuff that you can do with the Force. They just do it in a different way. So I think it is essentially the Force that the Ewoks are using. And so there you go. Ewoks.
I thought it was just magic. No, I thought he was just a medicine man.
Well, he is, but he is. So like they give medicine, like for when they first rescue the kids, the little girl is sick and she's got some kind of fever and she's like, I don't know, they never really tell you what it is, but the Ewoks give her medicine for it. It's lovely that you can crash land on an alien planet, and these furry little creatures who live there have something that will work with your metabolism and not poison you. I'd be afraid to eat anything off that planet. Are you kidding me?
Oh, no kidding. But does that mean that Logray is in charge of the vaccination effort?
Yes, that's right. Yes. He's setting up the clinic as we speak. He's getting all those Ewoks vaccinated. Anyway,
what age group are they up to?
I don't know. How long do Ewoks live? I don't even know how long Ewoks live. So yeah, there was that, and then as I said, and then I texted you that and said we'll talk about it on the podcast, and then you said you watched the Boba Fett, which is the tale of the loyal Wookiee. Is that what it's called? Something like that.
I don't remember.
So this is the short that was part of the holiday special, and I did rewatch it. It was pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad. There's a few things that I forgot about that are in there. I forgot that Boba Fett says friend 6,000 times, for instance. Which means you're an enemy, by the way.
Well, it does, yeah. And I thought that was really interesting. And I'm glad they didn't actually go, there probably was like somebody thought of, let's go back and change the voice to be Australian, like to match all the other Boba Fetts now. But they didn't do that, which is good. No. So they just kept everything original, which is excellent. But I think that one thing that stood out to me about this is that, like, think about it at the time when it came out. This is 1978 when this was released. And this is still 2 years away from Empire Strikes Back, but anybody watching that would have gotten a bit of a taste of what was going to happen in Empire Strikes Back, right? Like Boba Fett working for Darth Vader. That was something that plays out. So it provides a bit of a tease, which is really cool.
Yeah, and I like. Boba Fett does everything except kind of say I'm a bad guy. But Luke Skywalker's like, he seems like a friend. Luke's ways of the Force are pretty weak in that cartoon. But R2-D2 knows right away that you should not trust Boba Fett. He knows right away. He knows more than Luke knows in this particular cartoon. What did you think of one of the things I forgot about is how their faces kind of shape shift throughout the
Yeah, and that I don't see the information here about. But by the way, it's called the Story of the Faithful Wookiee, and basically the story is about Boba Fett teaming up with Chewbacca to get it's not a vaccine, but it's something. It's some kind of cure for this sleeping.
He has to hang upside down.
Yeah.
To cure him. That's a funny. I'm surprised that's never been in a movie because that's funny.
Well, it's kind of like when Luke was hanging upside down in Empire, where he's hanging upside down from the top of the cave, right? So again, a little bit of teasing for that kind of stuff. But yeah, the faces and the animation. So it was not. Sorry, I'm gonna. I should look this up. I should have had this before, but it says this animated short was originally part of the Star Wars Holiday Special, which only aired on television once on November 17th, 1978. It features the first on-screen appearance of Boba Fett, who was developed for The Empire Strikes Back. The original Star Wars cast returned to provide the character voices. They were all done by the original cast members. It's really good. But I think it's just Luke, Leia, and Han, right? That's the only three characters other than Chewie. So they would have had.
But I thought Han Solo's dialogue was it's like it was almost like what do you want to call it? Han Solo trope. Like, yeah, kid, we'll get going. All right, let's go. Okay, this is great. Like,
yeah,
it was like Harrison Ford barely wanted to be there, right? He literally phoned that in.
It's a lot like the guy who does the voice of Han Solo for Lego and stuff like that. Like there's a guy who does a really good Harrison Ford impression. And that's kind of what he sounds like in this too. So, but it really was Harrison Ford, which is very, very cool. I'm just looking up this. Oh yeah, it was because it's produced by Toronto-based Nelvana. Nelvana did this. Canadian animation studio. So that's cool. That's very cool. So that's kind of why. And again, I've said this that company was also involved with heavy metal. So there are some similarities in the animation style between this cartoon and the heavy metal, which was amazing. That's an amazing cartoon. So.
Well, I actually thought after I watched it, I thought, seeing the Mandalorian on a sea serpent's back is pretty cool. And that would be very hard. It'd be hard to pass up showing something like that in Mandalorian season 3, I thought, or even the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah.
I think we need to see that in live action. It's too cool.
It is cool. It is very cool. And I like that they did that stuff. It kind of speaks to what they were like. They're really back then, the possibilities were endless with this franchise, right? There was nothing else. All that existed was the movie, and that was it, the first movie. So that's why they created the Green Bunny Jackson, right? That whole thing. You're like, hey, Green Bunny, why not? Let's have Boba Fett riding a sea serpent. Why not? Like that whole, like just kind of anything goes. And I'm sure a little bit of a drug as well.
That's right. A little drug use for sure. But I think the thing that opened it up to all that was the cantina. I think if George Lucas had not put the cantina in there, I don't think we would have been subject to as many zany aliens between movies as we were, because that made it easy for anyone to go, well, there's every kind. There's the Wolfman, for instance. So if the Wolfman's in the bar, then we can have space monsters, and we can have sea serpents. We can have anything like Space Bunny, whatever exists, like whatever you want to create, it can exist in this universe.
Yeah, and they've kept up with that over the years as well. Like they've basically had a scene like that in almost every Star Wars movie since. But yeah, anyway, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a great little short. I think that it does benefit from being separated from the holiday special a little bit. Viewing it on its own, you really get a sense of like, okay, this is just a standalone story. So taking it out of context, I think it works really well. But again, I would really, as we said last episode, I'd really like for them to release those other aspects of the holiday special. Maybe they will.
Well, and something else that I never made the connection between on the holiday special before is I know B. Arthur's song is "One More Drink, Friend," and she says "friend" 10,000 times. Boba Fett says "friend" 10,000 times. I think the key takeaway from the holiday specials, we're all friends. In the end, we're all friends.
Yep.
Even when we're enemies.
Even when you're
friends.
spying on somebody for Darth Vader.
Even when you're a golden girl serving up drinks at the corner of the galaxy, you're all going to be friends.
She wasn't a golden girl yet. Okay, and then
she was going to be.
She was, yes, that's true. So, and the other thing that I watched a little bit of, I didn't watch the whole thing, but I started watching was the Clone Wars shorts, which is, it's weird that they've actually combined them all into like a single, like it's an hour-long piece. Basically, all these shorts put together, and I guess season 1, season 2.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I don't want that. I want individual. I want to watch them individually.
Yeah, I really did. I was expecting that as well, and I was wanting to watch it because then I could just watch one and then go do something else, come back and watch one. And so I've been doing that kind of, but I've just been on the same thing. Like you just press pause or press stop, and then I go do something else. But I like watching them one at a time. I don't think it works as well when they're combined together.
Yeah, I agree. I actually wanted to rewatch some of them. In particular,
like the big Mace Windu episode, but I don't know where it is. Like I have to fast forward through the whole thing to find Mace Windu.
It'll be at the end of whatever one you want to watch, so you have to watch everything all the way through, probably.
Yeah.
But so I'll probably get around to watching those again. But I mean, I've got all the action figures that are based on those series. I love the design of it. I just like the whole. I like everything about it. But yeah, I'd rather just watch them in bite-sized pieces. I think I'd appreciate them more.
Yeah, I agree. And isn't that how they're on the DVD you have? Is that how they're presented?
I don't. It's a good question. I don't remember watching them all at once, so I'm gonna have to go back and check that out. I'm not. Not 100% sure. I don't think so, but I might be wrong.
Okay, cool. And then the other big news this week, of course, was last week rather, was the kind of cast announcement for the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, and they released this nice graphic with all these faces in it. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So there's 12 people in here. And so should we go through all of them, or what do you want to do with this?
Well, there's a few. I mean, it's all. I mean, at this point, it's all speculation what we might see, but there's absolutely some stuff in here that's a given. And I have a couple of guesses about stuff in here as well. And also who's missing, but who probably will still be in the show.
Right, yeah, because there's going to be some surprises and some cameos and that kind of stuff, right? Now, have they said yet when this is taking place? Have they absolutely said that it is taking place between 3 and 4? 10
years after Revenge of the Sith.
Right, there you go. Yeah, okay. Directed by Deborah Chow.
Luke is about 10 years old, I guess.
That's right, and it says the series marks the return of Hayden Christensen in the role of Darth Vader. So we have, of course, the two most obvious people on here: Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen. Now, do you think we're going to get like Hayden Christensen for the bulk of the series? I always assumed it was just going to be like a 1-episode thing or something, but you think he's going to come back?
You never know with these announcements. You just don't bloody well know. That's the problem.
Yeah, like what does that mean that he's in? Is he only in one episode? Is he in every episode? Is he the bad guy in this? Like, is there more that happens between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader or something? Like, there's got to be more to happen there, right?
Star Wars has rolled out many, many announcements with big stars singing and dancing their way out onto a stage and then barely appearing in films. Including Captain Phasma herself and like some others.
Right.
And sometimes the more they praise the actor, the less the actor is actually in the damn thing. That we've had a little bit of that too. Even Max von Sydow was rolled out with huge fanfare, and it was like, okay, well, I got to get killed. Bye. Like right at the beginning of the movie. So,
I would say that what's his face from Benicio del Toro as well, a little bit.
Yeah.
Right. That was a bit of a letdown. Like I was excited that he was cast, and then he wasn't really much in the movie much.
And not only that, he was like, okay, see, I gotta go. I'll be back in the last movie. And then it's like, nah, maybe not. So you can't, whatever Star Wars rolls out, you just can't, like, don't let your imagination go too far, because they can do whatever they bloody well want. And they often do.
Yes.
And there's two eras of Star Wars. There's the we're not giving you anything you want era of Star Wars. And then there's the wish fulfillment, but going in the wrong direction Star Wars. And so I'm not sure which one this is yet.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, other notable names on here that they're just going to go off who I know. Kumail Nanjiani. That's an interesting casting choice.
I have a guess for him.
Okay, go ahead.
Droid.
Okay.
Yeah, come on.
Well, I mean, he's normally the comic relief, right? That's kind of what he does. So for him to be a wisecracking droid, I think that would make that makes sense. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's going to be. He's our droid. I'm going to say, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
But I think he is fun. He's funny.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. He's great. He's also in the Marvel Cinematic Universe too, eh? He's in the Eternals movie or whatever coming out. So he's got if he has a recurring character in this that could end up in other places, then he's set. He's got a character in Star Wars. He's got a character in Marvel. What else could you want? Right?
What else could you want?
Same with Ming-Na Wen has that as well. Ming-Na Wen is in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and in The Mandalorian, and now she's in the Book of Boba Fett. So there's another actor who's set. So we have Kumail Nanjiani, Joel Edgerton. Joel Edgerton has done. He's kind of more known as like for little smaller parts, character roles. He was in Bright. I don't know if you remember that. He was the guy who had all the makeup on. He was the orc guy on in against opposite Will Smith. He was his.
But we know who he is in this, right? Do you know?
Who is he?
He played him actually briefly in the prequel.
He's Owen.
That's right.
He's Uncle Owen. That's right. Oh, I forgot about that.
Which means Bonnie is Aunt Beru.
Right. Is
So
I
she
played
plays
it?
Aunt Beru in the prequels.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Piesi? I
Yeah,
don't know how you
Pies.
say her last name.
Yeah, and she looks so different in this photo. I didn't even recognize her as. And Joel Edgerton. It's funny because yeah, you're right. But he was very. He had no beard back then,
Right.
and very baby faced and very young, and he had no lines. So I didn't remember that much about him. But there you go. That's cool. So that means that we're gonna see Luke's home, and we're gonna see Luke as a child, right?
Right. And so who is missing here? Well, what
plays Luke?
actor's playing who's playing 10-year-old Luke?
Yeah.
Jake Lloyd?
Nope.
No, it's not Jake Lloyd.
He's not 10
Somebody's
anymore.
playing. No, he's not. Somebody's playing 10-year-old Luke who is yet to be announced.
Yeah, and it's got to
right?
be an
Even
unknown.
from a distance.
It's got to be an unknown. Otherwise, they would make a big deal out of it. It was like a famous child actor that we knew, then they would say. So it's got to be an unknown. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I can't even think of a child actor that would fit the bill, but there might be somebody that we're just not thinking
So do you
about.
think we're going to see Luke as a child, and then we'll see him like showing talent in the Force, maybe some kind of hints as to what's to come?
Boy, that's interesting. I personally think we're not going to see much of him, and maybe none of it. Maybe distance Luke,
like we did in Rebels, yeah.
Right, like just enough to kind of like get the point across. I don't know though. Like we could be really surprised. That's one of the things I really don't know how much of that or how little of that we're likely to see. I mean, we've also got isn't Indira Varma from Game of Thrones?
Yes, she is. Yes.
And
Correct.
so I think I'm going to just go out on a limb here and say she's the love interest of Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Oh,
Do
okay.
you think?
I don't know.
Do you think that's possible? I mean, it's possible, right?
Mm-hmm.
He is a hermit on Tatooine. So
And he's never had a love interest. That's
Nope.
never been a part of that character arc. So
well, not that we've seen, like maybe in the expanded universe or whatever, but not in that we've ever seen in like unfold in the movies or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know do you know who anyone else is in this list?
Oh yeah, O'Shea Jackson Jr. is of course the son of Ice Cube, right? Ice Cube, right?
Is that true?
Yeah, that's Ice Cube's son. Yeah,
I did not know.
Who played Ice Cube in the movie about NWA?
Really? He
Yeah, oh yeah,
No
absolutely.
way.
Played his dad. Yeah, it's a great movie. Have you seen the movie?
Wow.
It's a great movie.
Did I see that? I don't know if I did. I can't remember.
I know.
I might have. I don't know.
I know the name Rupert Friend. I don't remember what he's from.
Homeland.
Homeland. Okay. There's other stuff too. He's been around.
Yeah,
for a
and
while.
other stuff. Yeah, but
Yeah.
Homeland is like I can say with great certainty, having watched the first 3 seasons, that he's like a major part of that show.
Okay. Sung Kang is probably best known for his role in the Fast and Furious series. And I remember he came in the movie he showed up in first was Tokyo Drift, which is most people's least favorite Fast and Furious movie, but I actually quite like that one. I actually like that better than most of the other ones. So there's that. And I don't know who the other Benny Safdie. I don't know who that is. Safdie.
Safdie?
I can't read it.
Or is that an? I'm looking up that person because that person looks familiar too. He's been in some other stuff, but nothing I've seen.
Okay. So no word. So the series started shooting this month. Is shooting right now. No word yet on when it's coming out. So we're thinking probably after. Like if we're looking at the Book of Boba Fett coming out this fall, we're probably thinking maybe next spring. Hey.
Yeah, like probably. I mean, I although I'm still very surprised at how fast they turned around season 2 of The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
It could be faster than we think. Boy, it's so tough to know. But plus, we got Cassian Andor shooting at the same time already. That one must be close. I'll bet you that one will be first, right?
Actually, you're right. You're probably right. Yeah. If we're thinking about like when they're going to actually release these things, then Cassian Andor probably will come out first. But we will get the Book of Boba Fett is for sure coming out in the fall. I think they're going to leave. Not the fall. And I think they're going to leave Mandalorian season 3 until the following December. Like I don't think we're gonna get Mandalorian season 3 until then. And so in the meantime, we'll get season 1 of Cassian, we'll get season 1 of Obi-Wan, and season 1 of Book of Boba Fett. Yeah, lots of Star Wars TV shows. Wow,
it's crazy. And then you're right. You also pointed out Hayden Christensen in this, and yeah, like as Darth Vader. So are we gonna get flashbacks? I think we have to. Why would Hayden Christensen say, all right, I'll put on the uniform again. I'll smash out my eyepiece once so everybody can see like the classic, like, oh, look, it is him underneath the mask, or like in the back the tank. I don't think that's enough. I think they have to give us a flashback. It's got to be a dream. If you get him in a dream, then you can get Liam Neeson as Qui-Gon in a dream. I think Liam Neeson's got to be in this, right?
You think it's going to be the cameo as Liam Neeson?
It has to be. I mean, when I'm thinking about it, like it's like how else could you ever get Liam Neeson back unless it's in this? Like I don't think they don't have a project that I can think of where it would make sense unless they have one based on his character, which would be cool. I mean, I wouldn't dislike that at all if they did that, but I just think it's just almost too good to pass up.
Well, and if it's really a series about Obi-Wan, then it is about his growth and his how he changed. And Qui-Gon was his Jedi master, so Qui-Gon has a lot of influence over of how Obi-Wan grew up, right? Or became a Jedi. So I'd love to see some flashbacks. Maybe get to see like Obi-Wan training as a young Jedi with Qui-Gon, or Qui-Gon could appear to him as a Force ghost. Like Qui-Gon is the guy who figured all that out, right? So he could do that. He could show up as a Force ghost at some point.
Remember when in everybody was expecting at the end of Revenge of the Sith that oh no, wait a sec. Yeah, Revenge of the Sith. Yeah. Everybody and Yoda's like, I've been talking to Qui-Gon, and we're like, we're gonna see Qui-Gon, and then we didn't. We didn't show him. But apparently, I think they did shoot that. I think they did. So they might even be able to go back to whatever he said there and use it again, or get Liam Neeson in for to do it again. But I just think, and once again, that opens up opportunities of Force ghosts and flashbacks and all kinds of stuff that could be really, really interesting. And if you have Obi-Wan Kenobi in the desert, he can have visions as well. Like that's an old, like that's biblical style storytelling. If you're stuck in the desert and you have visions. So I think that's possible. I also think there's one actor who might be missing here.
Who's that?
You know who I'm talking about?
What's his face that plays Han Solo?
Given the hey, that's good. Maybe.
No. Who are you thinking?
It's possible. I was thinking the only one that I think has to be a guarantee. Ray Park.
Oh yeah, of course.
Doesn't he?
Yes. That makes sense.
It has to be.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
But we have Vader running around, so why do we need him?
Yeah, we don't. Maybe for a season 2 or something. Like maybe if they continue it on. But because I mean, we saw the conclusion of that in Rebels. Like they did have conflict between Obi-Wan and Darth Maul in Rebels. So, the question is, would they have run into each other again before they run into each other? And that was on Tatooine. It was like pretty close to the beginning of A New Hope when that happened. So. Yeah, I don't know if they would have him in this season or if they might wait for season 2 for that one. But they do. They certainly wanted to work with him. Like again, I watched Solo not too long ago, and they really wanted him to be part of this. They made a big deal out of it when he was in Solo. So,
but let's not forget that Cassian Andor takes place at an interesting time too. Yeah. So I mean, there's all kinds of opportunities here to use different actors, right? Like when you're dealing with that time zone, but that's still the time frame that we have lots of action going on in already.
Yeah.
Like I'm also, so that's great. I mean, and you got to use these actors while they're still around. You got to do it. But I'm still excited to see something that takes place outside of the of prequel, original, and post original trilogy time frame. I just think it'll be. It's just the idea, like when you noted that in the Boba Fett cartoon, it's like, hey, everything's open. It's like whatever you want to do. I think that's what the promise of something that takes place in a whole other era is like.
Yeah, that's what makes
it opens it up.
That's what makes The Mandalorian exciting and the Book of Boba Fett, because they're both taking place in that open, like the 30-year gap between movies, right? And we have 2 other series, the Andor series and the Obi-Wan series, taking place in the 10-year span between before A New Hope. So whatever Andor is doing is going to lead directly into Rogue One, and then whatever Obi-Wan is doing is going to lead directly into A New Hope, right? Which both kind of tie together. So that's going to bring that up. But you're right, there's a lot going on there. So I don't know that we're going to get a ton. Like, I don't know how much they can really do in that space. I mean, we might only get like 2 or 3 seasons of this show and that's it. Because I wouldn't want to see like a 10 season run of Obi-Wan because it's not enough time to tell a good story, or it's too much time.
I'm glad they're doing it though. I really am. Now, I think the one thing that they're just going to throw, I've been thinking about this too, because one of the things that bugged people about the prequels was the aging of the actors and the age they are in the prequels versus the age they are in A New Hope. And I think the one thing that's probably they're not going to spend a lot of time on is the aging of Obi-Wan Kenobi, the aging of Owen Lars, the aging, like they are crusty old men in A New Hope, particularly Owen Lars. I don't know. And we're talking about 10 years after Revenge of the Sith. What is the aging process going to look like? Because that's the one thing that bugs people and that's never been explained. It's like the hot Tatooine, the double suns on Tatooine must age you fast. But if that's the case, then I would expect to see a lot of people looking significantly older than they look in these glossy photos that have been released. They're going to have to be aged.
Well, I think they're going to
for that to make sense.
Yeah, they're not going to. I don't think they're going to bother with that because they haven't like. There's been no. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that Tatooine makes you age faster. In Star Wars, nobody's. But we're
something.
Well, that's yeah. You look at the actor who played Owen Lars in the original film, and you look at Joel Edgerton when he played him in. And it was only in the third, right? It was only in Revenge of the Sith that we got that shot of because that's when Obi-Wan brings baby Luke to them. So yeah, that's they don't look alike. It's very very like night and day, and even 20 years doesn't add that much. No. To it. So yeah, I think they're just gonna like obviously when they first made the first movie, they weren't really planning on showing, the actors, or maybe they were and they just didn't care. But I mean, there's not much you can do about it, right? It is what it is. It's just the actors. It's like it goes back to the explanation about the Klingons in Star Trek, right? Why did the Klingons why in the movie version did they have like weird ridges and stuff when they didn't in the TV show? And the answer was because we have more money. That's all it was. We had more money to put more makeup on, make them look more alien. So we did that. And that's all it is. So
continuity meant nothing back then. And neither did canon. Neither did a bunch of nerds crying canon every 2 seconds.
Right.
That never used to happen. But okay. But how about this? Obi-Wan Kenobi, white beard?
Maybe.
They could do that. Right?
Yeah, they could give him a beard and haircut closer to Alec Guinness. Actually, that seems like a pretty reasonable thought. I think that's something that we'll see him looking, or maybe see him transition over the course of the series into looking more like the old Obi-Wan that we know, right? There was that. And that's, the best. I thought that when the prequels first came out, the one thing I remember thinking very clearly when I first saw the trailer for the very first trailer for Phantom Menace, I couldn't believe how much Ewan McGregor looked and sounded like Sir Alec Guinness. Like he did a really good job, right? He sounded exactly like him. And so that it's just going to be more of that. Like he's such a good actor. He's so, he does a great job with this stuff. So I'm not worried about that at all.
I just thought of how they could start this. They could have Obi-Wan Kenobi sitting at a museum and little kids come. Oh, sorry, that's Lone Ranger. It's my standard joke.
He can ride how about he rides his motorcycle across Tatooine with his friend and with his best friend, and they can ride all the way and then just record it the whole way, all the way around Tatooine. Long way around Tatooine.
I think you're getting this confused with that recent Star Trek movie with Captain Kirk racing around on a motorcycle for no apparent reason.
Yeah, that's right.
What was that? What was that called again?
That was Star Trek. That was the first Star Trek.
But that was the most recent Star Trek.
Oh, was it
movie.
Beyond?
Yeah. Oh, Beyond. Right. Where he was racing around on a motorcycle at the end, and you're like, "What is happening?"
I completely forgot about that. Actually, I didn't even realize that.
It's the only part I remember, just because it was so confusing, with a bunch of other actors standing around looking at him. None of it made any sense. But I think if Obi-Wan gets on a motorcycle, I'd be surprised. But if he gets on a speeder bike, however, I think that might very well happen. That might happen.
For sure. Yeah.
I don't think he'll visit the Tatooine Museum. I don't think that'll happen. Hey, what
Is there a
that?
Tatooine museum?
Are there museums in there's libraries in Star Wars. Is there museums? Have we ever seen a museum?
Not that I know of, but that doesn't mean they don't exist. One of our listeners will help us out if they know.
I don't think so. I don't.
Museum. I think of like in the prequels when we see like or we see Yoda training the younglings, like we see that, and Obi-Wan does some research, right, when he's trying to track down all that stuff. So, I'm sure there's museums.
There's artifacts, and there's like the Emperor Palpatine collected, like had the room with the Sith painting, et cetera, et cetera. But I don't think that was open to the public.
Well, and that's, to be fair, that's actually a pretty common Star Wars villain trope when you think about it.
Yes.
The guy from Solo, right. Paul Bettany from Solo, had a nice little collection going on. Even
so they do exist.
Yes, Thrawn, Grand Admiral Thrawn, although not in live action, but in Rebels, he has art, and in the books as well. He has art from various. You have to know in order to understand a species, you have to study its art. That's a big Thrawn thing. So, yeah.
So Star Wars has private collections, but no public museums that we're aware of.
Yeah, all the bad guys buy up all the art in the Star Wars universe. That's it. All the villains, they need to have their
helmets
and weapons and yeah.
They love hoarding that stuff, but they do not like charging admission to let anyone just come in and see it.
No, that's right.
You have to steal it,
or you have to have some kind of meeting with him, and so you can see it. Yeah,
that's right, exactly.
All right, so there you go. That's the new cast of the Obi-Wan series. Very excited about that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Whenever it comes
I can't
out.
Wait.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. It's great to see Ewan McGregor back in the role, and I just finished up Long Way Up, which is his the latest version of that series. Again, Apple TV Plus. I'm just a big ad for Apple TV Plus right now because it's pretty much all I'm watching. But yeah, Long Way Up is very good. If you like Ewan McGregor, you'll love that. Anything else we should talk about today before we wrap up?
I have not been to a store in many moons to see what the Star Wars merch is like.
No.
But I might. I don't know if you're like me. How are the socks and underwear holding up in this pandemic, there, Dan? Yeah, me too.
I'm almost due for a trip to the store for that, for sure.
See, same with me. So I think as early as today, I'm going to go to a good old like mall somewhere. And while I'm there, I might just check out what's going on with Star Wars merch. I might be surprised at how much there is because I just don't think. I mean, I think we're so used to not going to stores at all. There might be a big backlog that I'm unaware of. So I'm very much out of the loop on Star Wars merch. I noticed right before we were on the air, I checked quickly and there were some new toys that got announced today. But apart from that, I haven't. It's been a long time since I purchased any merch, and I'm sort of feeling the itch, to tell you the truth.
All right.
I got to get out there and buy some socks, underwear, and Star Wars merch.
Okay, sounds good. Well, let's talk about that next episode then. Go ahead and buy yourself. Not about the
underwear and socks.
No. About Star Wars merch. I don't care.
Maybe I'll buy underoos, and so I'll cover both. Both
Star Wars underwear, right? Just like you had when you were a kid. All right.
Absolutely.
That's going to do it for this episode of the Star Wars Nerds. I'm Dan Vadabonker.
I'm Kenton Larson. Don't let the Force hit you on the ass.
I'm taking an awful risk, Vader. This had better work.
Where did you dig up that old fossil?
That's no moon.
Now I